Welcome to Better Together.
A place where we dive deep into everyday subjects.
We are your hosts, Julian
and Carolina, two psychologists that travel the world and are very excited about the whole human experience.
So without further ado, let's dive into the episode. Welcome to another episode of Better Together. And today we want to talk about when chapters end. So some memories or some difficult times when you have to move on, when you go into a new place or have to say goodbye to some people.
Yeah, and this comes in a time where we're currently about to leave the life that we've been living for the last 4 months, and then we're embarking on a new adventure.
For us, that's a long time.
Yeah, 4 months.
You know,
it's a lot. So we travel a lot, and we have been traveling full time for a year and a bit, a year and 3 months maybe, and we have said goodbye to many places, but there's one place that it's hard to say goodbye, which is my home country and Julian's home country, and that's Uruguay and Germany. So right now we are in Uruguay, and we have been here for a long time, hanging out with my family, making deeper bonds, and Julian has been bonding with children, with all my nieces and nephews. And turns out he's great fun. We didn't know that because he didn't have anybody in his life before. So it has been very different than usual. Very different than just traveling around and going to this waterfall and climbing this mountain and like doing these things. Here it has been more like, oh, let's settle. Let's meet with family. Let's just have talks. Let's eat a lot. Because it's an Italian family, so that's what we get. And that's been it. So we are approaching the end of this part of the adventure, which was 3 months of eating, hugging, and playing with children. And this is what we feel. This is the ending of this chapter and how we're living through it.
Now we want to use also this podcast as a reminder for us how to deal with the last week that we're spending here.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great way for you guys to fully experience how we actually go through it, and for us to have a reminder of how we actually want to consciously, intentional go about this.
Yeah. So I liken the goodbyes and the ends of chapters as deaths. This
starting strong,
taking a dark turn. But yes, for sure. I think that every time that we end the chapter is sort of a small death. And I imagine that at the end of life, it's very similar. Like you look back and then you're appreciating everything that you lived. And instead of leaving a country, because that's what we're doing now, you're living your whole life behind. You're living a body. A way of being. So this is an analogy that works for me because I think that the moment that you're about to die, the cards were already dealt. Like you already played the game. You already lived the experience you had to live. It's not at your deathbed that you try to fulfill every wish that you have pending and everything that was left unsaid. You say it, is more like at the deathbed is just a time of contemplation and looking back, appreciating, and maybe, yes, just having a meeting from a distant cousin that you haven't talked in years and then just having a nice, heartwarming conversation. Could be that's included, but it's mostly contemplation and appreciation for everything that has happened. And that's the same way that I approach the ending of any chapter. I become a lot more contemplative. I slow down. I look back of about the times that have been spent with the family and in that certain place, and take the learnings, take the memories, put them in a pocket in my heart, and then thank everything, and figure out what I want to take moving forward.
Yeah, quite a strong analogy with the death, but I think it does fit to the extent that it is a similar structure, a similar feeling that arises. Like in the end, now when leaving, you have the feeling, oh, in the last week we need to meet everybody and rush to really be able to get to know everybody in the last bit, say goodbye in the best way, and whatever that means, right? It's creating a little bit of pressure, I think, in the end. But before we dive into like how I think we want to do it, let's dive into what would be the worst way to go about it. And I do have some experiences and memories with that, how I did that in the past. And I think what you mentioned, like putting a lot of pressure on the last final few meetings or days. That's already really tough, because you notice that it's hard to make this the perfect thing the last time you meet, and put a lot of pressure on it. You cannot be relaxed with them and really experience the moment. And I think that's the first big thing. But what also happened to me before leaving the country to other places was that I just sort of let it pass, because I will be coming back to the same place at some point. And that is such a fallacy. You will change so much when going somewhere else. And the place, even though it doesn't seem like it, but the relationship, they do change. So you will never come back to the exact same place, even though you wish you would like to.
It's like that saying of a man showering in the river. Let's make it gender neutral. A person showering in the river, it will never shower in the same river twice, because it's neither the same man nor the same river. Damn it, I didn't keep it neutral. It's neither the same person nor the same river. And I think that's it. Like you will never live through the same things, and you might come back to the country, but you will be a completely different person, and for a different reason you might come back. So,
and it gives us, or gives me at least, in a sense, the feeling of safety when I imagine, oh, I'll be going back to the same place in the same environment that I already know, instead of always having to rediscover everything. But that's actually the fun part, the journey, the interesting thing, to actually rediscover things all over when you come back to that place. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to stay on the worst part of it. So the bad part is, I think, letting the last moments define your whole experiences without reflecting on it, on the whole journey. And the other part is also what I did as well, to just actually not caring that much about it, because I thought I would come back to the same place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the worst for me, and I agree with you, the worst for me would be to get swept away with the stress and the emotions and not be present. Because it's very easy for that to happen. Like the last days, for anybody that has traveled and left the country or made a significant change in their life by moving somewhere else, you know that the last days accelerate. Like, you know that the countdown becomes more and more intense. And maybe you were meeting one person a day, like 2 weeks before leaving. But then the few days before leaving, you're meeting 3 people a day, you're fixing your bank stuff, you are changing money, you are doing this other thing, and you need to return this t-shirt that you bought, and you need to change it. And like all of these things pile up to the last couple of days. Even if you're really organized, like it still happens that the last couple of days are more intense. And so I think the mind can take over then. And it's like, I need to do this, I need to call this person, I need to finish this before everything is said and done, like before I get on the plane, because you have the ticking time bomb of getting on the plane. And I think it's really, really, really important to breathe and to come back to the present moment over and over and over again, because this is a highly, highly intense time when you're just about to leave. Like, I think of the next couple of days, and I'm like, my luggage is broken, so I need to get a new luggage. I need to figure out which clothes I'm gonna leave, which clothes I'm gonna take. Like, I need to cancel the credit card that I got when I was here. A bunch of things that I couldn't do before because, like, I needed to use the card up until now. And yeah, it just happens. So you have those days. So it's better to have all the memories before, all the meetings before, and just know that in the last couple of days, yes, you will meet people, but it's going to be exhausting and stressful, and you will be running on fumes. It's like, it's very likely that you will drain yourself quite a bit. So that, I think the worst part is to let that take over, like let the craziness take over and not enjoy the present moment and be there for everything, even if it's just the silliest things. Like, I need to cancel my card and I'm in the line waiting to be called or whatever. Those moments where you're just like, oh, it's about the last times that I will be around my people in my country, and just relishing on that, appreciating it to an extent. I of course, not expecting to be Buddha here, but just a bit of appreciation and presence.
Yeah. And now like we already mentioned some things that we want to do, like the good things, but let's go a little bit into how we really want to go intentional about it, and what we see like goodbyes actually, what kind of power they hold within itself. I think that's also very interesting, because it's not just the sadness or the grief coming over, but it's actually, because of that intensity of the emotion, holding quite some energy and something importance. And I think an important part that I feel about goodbyes is that they're really, like, I want to go about it as with parts of, or time of reflection, so I can actually ingrain the memories that have happened in the time before. So not trying to cram everything, meeting everybody in that time, but really almost putting time in my calendar. That's a cool thing. I want to do that. Putting time in the calendar where I actually want to appreciate the things that happened in this time and want to really go through it. What are the things that I loved about it? What are the things that I definitely want to remember and maybe journal about it? I think those parts are really important or impactful, because you really remember those things that you write down or tell other people. Mm-hmm. And that's really cool. Yeah. And yeah, I think that's one big thing for me.
Okay. For me, I think that the fact that the time that we spend somewhere is finite, it makes it way more visible. we need to use time to the maximum of our abilities. And every meeting is deeper, and every connection is more profound. And when you feel the shit out of things. So like I have all of these images that stay in my mind after an event or after something happens. And they're usually packed with emotion or really beautiful images. And like, to put in an example, I went to a women's march and I saw the peacekeepers, let's say, like the police. They're never called peacekeepers. I think that's from Hunger Games. I didn't want to say it like in a bad way. So like all the police women, but they were like more like the special forces. They were there on the side just in case anything would break out. And they were all women. and they were all standing there with their uniform, and like there were women marching. But the fact that these women were standing strong, even like with the sisters that were marching, it was, I don't know, it was an image that stayed in my mind, like their strength and the polarity of like all of these women being fully against police, like myself included. Like I'm not a big fan of police, but just seeing these women and being like, you're my sister, like I cannot hate you. And just having that realization was very strong for me. So that's one of the things that really moved me. And it's just an image. And it was like a second. I was marching and then I saw these women and it was literally 1 second. But those things stay, because even though there were like 1,000 more things that happened in the march, I don't remember them. Like I don't give them too much space in my head. So finding those images or those moments that really meant something, like maybe a really deep hug, or when somebody shared something very vulnerable and you were holding space for that. So appreciating those things and really living the shit out of them, because this is where...
What do you mean by that? Like you used to know a couple of times. What do you exactly mean by that?
Being very present in that moment and expanding it in time. Because most of the times we are just going through the motions, and maybe 5 hours count as 5 minutes. But this is the opposite. This is when a second can last hours, days, and even stay forever in your memory. So that's what I mean by living the shit out of it. When you like carve out an image, a piece of a conversation, or something that happened, and you enhance that, you expand it, you make it bigger, and you notice that in the moment, but you also reminisce about it afterwards. So that's what I mean by living the shit out of it. And just living life like that, noticing these moments whenever they happen, and really, really, really being there for experiencing them. I think that's a lifestyle, and that's like what I think is the best way of living, knowing that this is a finite time and it will end. And because I am we are constantly traveling, we know that these moments are everything, and we lean in more because of that. And going back to the analogy to death, like the way that we are living is a very conscious way, because we know we're going to die. And it can be the death of we're moving to a new country. It can be the death of I'm not going to be a psychologist anymore. I'm going to be a speaker, whatever it is. But it's still a death. And like we're very aware that that's approaching. That's right there.
All the time.
All the time. And maybe we don't place like the angel of death in our visualization. We know that it's a plane. Probably most of the times the death is a plane. Not calling in any plane crashes or anything. just saying that the death is getting on a plane and moving somewhere else. And that makes us more aware. That makes us stay in the present.
Yeah.
Be more in the moment.
I think a big part of why life has meaning is because it's finite. If it would be infinite and we could live until eternity, which is ridiculously long, it wouldn't have that much value, I think. So it's that, so that it has an ending gives all the experiences beforehand a lot more meaning. And so I really, like, in that sense, it's amazing that we close a chapter because it has an ending and is also an opening for something else.
Yeah, we don't die. We don't actually die. We start again, and it's a new game, and it's in a different continent, and with new possible friends that are emerging, and new challenges.
And you can reinvent yourself again. Who are you in that place? How's the environment shaping you there? Who would you like to be, but weren't able to change because the circumstances were the same or very rigid? And going to another place makes or opens up possibilities again for you to experience something new and reinvent yourself again. That's what I love about it as well. Like, you can create new routines, do different sports, meet different people, get new ideas, become a different person by going somewhere else.
Yeah. And like we've been to the jungle where we would just enjoy a very good airco and would just eat fruit and just hang out. Like, really, there wasn't much work that could be done or much anything. So then that was the adaptation to that place. Then we were in the altitude, and we knew that in the altitude, maybe sports are not the right thing. So stretching and breathing and connecting to plants, that was a different thing that we could do there. And now we had times where we were at the beach. So going at the beach was part of the routine, and just swimming and playing beach volley, all of this activities that come with being at the beach. And now we're going to both, like, we're going to Malaga. So it's a place that has both the mountains and the beach. So we will see how that goes, because it's a very different energy, and it's also very close to a city where we will be staying. So we could engage in activities related to a city if we wanted to. So there's a world of possibilities, and it's very exciting to think forward. The thing is, you have to stay present.
Yeah. It's the excitement coming up already of the new place, and already a little bit the morning, the reminiscence of the past, of the memories that happened, and almost trying to stay in there because they were great. But I think there's the difficult part, like the right in between, to now at the end be able to still stay present in like the saying goodbye, without falling into being stuck in the past of how great it was, and without like looking forward to what's coming next, because then you're all the time in the future, not being present anymore. Yeah. So it's a really difficult time to be present, but it's even more important right now.
Yeah, and it's so interesting to have all of these emotions coexisting, because it's the grief of like, I won't see my mom for a year, and that I won't see my nieces grow up. Like, I won't be there to see the tiny progresses that they make. But at the same time, I have this excitement for what's to come. Like, what kind of life will I have? And can I be a speaker? Can I start being on stages? Can I meet some cool people that are like-minded, and then just grow as a person and in my career? So all of those things coexist in my heart right now. It's like excitement and expectation, and at the same time sadness that I won't be there. So it's a compromise that we make. Like, the compromise is, I sacrifice this for this, and that's a very conscious decision, and that calls me right now to be holding space for everything, and that's happening within me, because I get to feel the grief of leaving, I get to feel the excitement of what's to come, and I get to get confused about all of it. But it's very intentional, and it's a lifestyle that I chose.
And I think with all of that, at least for me, it's an important part to add on what you said, because sometimes when we try or when we start wishing back the memories, or look already ahead for the future, it's important to, at least for me, remember that this is the right decision right now. Because otherwise I fall into the trap of doubting the decision whether should actually leave right now. Is that the right moment? Shouldn't I stay longer? Or wouldn't be also fine to just leave next month or next year or whatever? But really trusting right now that this is the right decision right now to make because I made it already, and not doubting it. And that gives this important piece of confidence that yes, I will leave now, and I will be able to create a better future, or not a better future, but I will be able to be fully present in the future as well, and create something, whatever is true to me there. And I think that is the last piece that is very important for me when it comes to goodbyes.
Also, for me, one thing that is really important, and now I guess zooming out from all of these things, because this was the zooming in by analyzing all of the emotions and all the things that are happening through our heads and our hearts, and now zooming out, and this moments, what I see, and for this is my last important piece, is to be present and in the heart. And I feel so much in the last couple of days, like so much moves. I realize how much I love my family, how much I want to be around them. I realize how much I love children and I love hanging out with them and playing, like how much joy that brings in me. And still how much I love this lifestyle and being able to reinvent myself and think forward and think big. And just be in multiple countries in a year, just living in multiple places. I love that. So loving it all, accepting it all, and leaving the shit out of it. Yeah, that's my last important piece.
Okay. I think then overall it's feels it's a very wholesome episode. But overall I think it's just for you, when there's anything that needs to be ended, that there needs to be an end to something, to whatever chapter you are going through. I think it's really good to just take a moment to also create some intentions for you, how you would like to go about it. Because otherwise it just flows, you just flow with the current, which might in that case be the fears and doubts that might arise. So really taking time to do it consciously. So I love that we took the time now to do the podcast, because now we had to.
Yes. So thank you for being our therapy.
Yes. Thank you for putting the pressure on us to be intentional with what we're saying and sort of walking the walk. So yeah, I hope that was any help for you for your end of the chapter, and thank you for listening until now.
Thank you for being open to hear about our current situation and what we're going through. And it was a very vulnerable share, I think, because our hearts are so raw and so open. So yeah, thank you for holding a loving space. I hope to see you soon next week. Thank you for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.